Welcome, Bodhisattvas. Welcome to this Thursday evening talk at Mountain Cloud. It's good to be together in this earthen Zendo and in this cloud. A clear reminder that there is not the slightest gap.
Beginning has enlightenment that
Lydia?
May.
Oh, thank you. Not the slightest gap. Yeah, these 10,000 myriad expressions, and it's just one reality. One fact. And here it is. Now. All of it. So this past Sunday, while the intro retreat went on at Mountain Cloud, thanks to Scott and Will and Colleen, Sarah, and the residents and those who attended, during that time, Sunday morning, I joined the small group that sits on the plaza, sits for peace in the Middle East. It had snowed Saturday, big, wet flakes that blanketed the ground and hunkered down on trees and bushes. The branches of juniper looked like hands holding nests of snow. Sunday, though, was bright and clear. So we bundled up and sat in the sparkling light, timed by the cathedral bells, longing for peace in a land of rubble, of untold violence and soundscape of war. Dogen says of our practice that it is continuous and undivided. He writes, "The power of your sitting confirms you as well as others. This practice, from the beginning, even the intention," Dogen writes, "affects the entire earth and the entire sky in the 10 directions. We may have only an inkling of this, or maybe none. And yet, and so, we just sit." In that snowscape that's been coming and going, I came across a poem that resonates I'd like to share. It's called Choices, by a poet, essayist, short story writer named Tess Gallagher. Here's her poem. "I go to the mountainside of the house to cut saplings and clear a view to snow on the mountain. But when I look up, saw in hand, I see a nest clutched in the uppermost branches. I don't cut that one. I don't cut the others either. Suddenly, in every tree, an unseen nest where a mountain would be. Branches, nest, mountain, right where you sit." In these last 3 weeks, we've taken up 3 turning words of Master Haryo or Baling. You didn't have to be here, but Very simple. First word, heaping snow in a silver bowl. Second word, a clearly enlightened person falls into a well. Third word, each branch of coral reflects the moon. And each of these turning words begins with a question. What is Zen? What is the way? What is the sharpest sword? Snow falling, and each bit reflecting the whole. This moon right here, right here. So for tonight, I'd like to turn to a koan that has its own snowscape and that puts the question, that sort of one fundamental question, in the form of falling. This is Blue Cliff Record, or Hekigonroku, case 42, and it's called Layman Pang's Beautiful Snowflakes. Here's the case. Layman Pang was leaving Yaoshan. Yaoshan ordered 10 of his Zen students to see Pang off at the temple gate. Pang pointed to the falling snow in the air and said, "Beautiful snowflakes. They don't fall on any other place." At that time, there was a student named Zen, or Zenkaku, who said, "Where do they fall?" Layman Pang gave him a slap. Zen said, "Don't be so rough." Pang said, "If you name yourself a Zen student in such a condition, Old N, this is the guardian of hell, will never release you." And Zen said, "What then would you say, Layman Pang?" Pang slapped him again and said, "You see with your eyes, but you're just like a blind person. You speak with your mouth, but you're just like a dumb person." And then in parentheses at the end, Seppo, or Shwedu, adds this comment. "At the first words, I would have immediately made a snowball and hit him." End of case. So, reading this bit of a story, I just want to say that koans have this kind of turning function, and it's not part of our calculus. And same goes for these talks. No problem not to understand. Just let it fall on you like snow. See what sticks. So let's first look at the characters in this case. Our ancestors in this practice, and very alive. First, Pang Yun, or Layman Pang, 8th century to early 9th century disciple of Baso, or Mazu. Before Mazu, Layman Pang studied with Shurto, Sekito, the two greatest masters of his era. Pang is famous, and was then, for being a deeply awake lay person, sort of the counterpart of Vimalakirti during Shakyamuni Buddha's time, this lay person, said to be as clear as Shakyamuni Buddha. Pang is a successful merchant with a wife and a daughter, according to most accounts, who are also deep practitioners. And Pang has this experience of who he truly is. And he gives away all his wealth. Or there's one record that says he actually sort of takes it all out on a boat and sinks it in the river. But more readily, the record says he was a great, benevolent supporter of people in need. So here's a bit about Pang's awakening. In his first meeting with Sekito is the author of Song of the Grass Hut that I like to quote, and another very famous verse, Identity of Relative and Absolute. So Pang goes to this renowned teacher, meets for the first time, and Pang asks, "What person does not keep company with the myriad things?" What person, you might say, transcends all these things, all these phenomena, this ordinary world of form? Who is that one? And before he finishes speaking, Sekito suddenly just reaches over and shuts his mouth. Just what's that about? Sekito might be saying, too noisy, stop talking. Or that very gesture of closing his mouth might be seen as directly presenting the person who does not keep company with the myriad things. Either way, however you see this, Pang immediately awakens. He must have been very ripe. This opening, this falling away, a very clear glimpse. But the record says it wasn't thoroughgoing. So Sekito urges him to go to Baso. And Pang does, he goes. After a couple of years with Sekito, he leaves and goes to Baso, this Dharma cousin. And he asks Ba, what person does not keep company with the myriad things? And Master Baso says, wait till you can swallow all the water in the West River in one gulp. Then I'll tell you. Wait till you swallow the Atlantic Ocean, the North Sea, Santa Cruz Lake. And on hearing these words, the record says Pang experienced great enlightenment. What did he realize? One existence, if you could name it. The world, this real world in which the entire ocean is in his stomach, the world where he's the only one in the entire universe, and nothing is excluded. One way of putting it is he transcended the myriad phenomena. I am that. wherever you turn, I am that. So in this case 42, Layman Pang has been visiting Yaoshan or Yakusan. They would have known each other well. Yakusan was a disciple of Sekito, so during those years they would have sat together. And maybe Pang is now studying with Yakusan. Baso has died. I was putting these notes together this afternoon and got to this and flashed on hearing Ryon Roshi, the abbot of Sambo Zen, talk about his own growing up in Sanun Zendo in Kamakura, sitting sesshin after sesshin, and Philip Kapleau was there often next to him. These Dharma siblings. Sort of like Yakusan and Layman Pang. So here's the scene. Pang gets ready to leave, and Yakusan tells 10 of his students, his monks, to accompany Pang to the gate, the temple gate, a sign of great respect. So they walk outside, and it's snowing. Pang points to the falling snow in the air and says, "Beautiful snowflakes. They don't fall on any other place." The koan could stop here. Look, how beautiful. Look right here. Or just, it's snowing. There's the snow. There's the ocean. There's your whole body. Layman Pang points to it, this falling right here. They don't fall on any other place. Yamada Koan Roshi, our abbot's father, has a commentary on this case, and he says the second line, the second half, is a hook to fish up unwary Zen students. So one student standing there takes the bait. Where do they fall? Where do they fall? Pang gives the student a slap. Where does the snow fall? Right there. Perfectly showing where the snow is falling. Just one falling. Here's the place. The monk doesn't get it. He thinks the slap is a rebuke. Don't be so rough. And Pang responds, if you call yourself a Zen student in such a condition, the guardian of hell will never release you. It's kind of mythic language. But he's saying, stay stuck in a dualistic world, and you will stay stuck in suffering. The student asks again, what then would you say? They go back and forth, each word presenting the place where the snow snowflakes are falling. The monk isn't seeing, and Layman Pang slaps him again. I think of all those masters with their encouragement stick. Whack! And he finally says, you see with your eyes, but you're just like a blind person. You speak with your mouth, but you're like a dumb person. And along with the student, we might hear that as a rebuke. But more deeply, more to the point, Pang is presenting his experience. The world of true blindness. The world we chant in the Heart Sutra. No eye, ear, nose, tongue, body, mind. The world of nothing at all. And yet, speaking, listening. The world of freedom and compassion. Falling away. Right here. Yesterday was Valentine's Day and Ash Wednesday, the beginning of Lent. A good friend said it should be called Cognitive Dissonance Day. Dissonance. Lots of people give up chocolate for Lent. But dissonance is also it. A week before, some of you may have seen this, I saw it on PBS. There was a report on the Wildlife Photographer of the Year Awards. A bit of dissonance, or maybe consolation for the onslaught of difficult news. The photograph that won is called Ice Bed. It's worth looking it up. It's an image of a polar bear, a large male polar bear, asleep on a small remnant of a glacier, like a miniature ice mountain, just floating in the vast, encroaching ocean. Among the runners-up was a photo called The Happy Turtle. I mention this in honor of our turtles meeting tonight. It was a photograph of a Balkan pond turtle and a certain kind of rare kind of dragonfly, and the turtle has its head up, and the dragonfly has landed right on its mouth. It was extraordinary. Some caption about peaceful coexistence. Several of these images really catch the eye. One in particular, called Starling Mermation. Ordinary in a way and particularly beguiling. The caption said, the photograph is by a man, Daniel Dinsescu, who was mesmerized by the movements of the starlings as they formed colossal organic shapes in the sky. Each day, he goes out watching as they return from foraging. These starlings would gather in large numbers and perform spellbinding aerial shows known as mermations on their flight home to their communal roosts. It's like the snow falling. Goes on, in a bid to locate the best roosting sites where he could capture this, Daniel spent hours following the starlings around the city and suburbs of Rome. And finally, on this cloudless winter's day, absolutely clear, late day, the flock swirled into the shape of a giant bird. Beautiful. Beautiful snowflakes. They don't fall on any other place. Where do they fall? I'll tell you. When you've swallowed the ocean, the sky, the 10,000 myriad things, the polar bears, turtles, dragonflies, starlings, the melting glaciers. And finally, at the end, Teisho adds his comment. Teisho, the compiler of these koans. This whole story, and Teisho says, at the first words I would have immediately made a snowball and hit him with it. There's a beautiful commentary, very evocative, on this case by Matthew Sullivan. It's his translation of the Blue Cliff Record, Garden of Flowers and Weeds. Sullivan, I'll just mention this, at the very beginning of this collection, he has a line from the Transmission of Light. If I were to raise the matter of the teachings of Zen, weeds would emerge 10 feet high around the Dharma Hall. How long have I been talking? Lots of weeds. The irony is typical of Zen, this epigraph to a volume of teachings. The chapter in Sullivan's collection for Case 42, for Layman Pang's beautiful snowflakes, is all about now. Beautiful snowflakes don't fall on any other place. All time, all space, nada, nada, nada. No place to divide. All the teaching, all the ancestors, nothing excluded. So I'm going to do a little experiment. Close this talk, this exploration. By reading something that I sent to a student this past week, again, Dogen, and then sharing what the student sent back. We were talking about Dogen's phrase, he used to say, the phrase before the voice, or the word before we speak. Here's the passage I sent. It's not too long. Dogen. I offer this in honor of Layman Pang, his wife and daughter. If you attain unsurpassable, complete enlightenment, all sentient beings also attain it. The reason is that all sentient beings are aspects of enlightenment. Great enlightenment, right at this moment, is not self, not other. If you speak of achieving enlightenment, you may think you don't usually have enlightenment. If you say enlightenment comes, you may wonder where it comes from. And if you say, I have become enlightened, you may suppose that enlightenment has a beginning. So what came back after sending this? The student, the caption in the email was just collage. And we're going to try to play it for you, see if this works. Turn it over to Lydia and Kieran.
beginning A has enlightenment that suppose may you enlightened become have I say you if from comes it where wonder may you comes enlightenment say you if enlightenment have usually don't you that think may you enlightenment achieving of speak you if other not self not is moment this at right enlightenment great enlightenment of aspects are beings sentient all that is reason the it attain also beings sentient all enlightenment complete unsurpassable attain you if
beautiful snowflakes. They don't fall anywhere else. Thank you so much for this shared practice.